dimension and inviscid flows. Fine. So we'll discuss it one by one. Both the terms I'll discuss with you. What is mass conservation and what are inviscid flow. So mass conservation, we know that this is one of the principle, one of the law of nature, mass conservation, that mass can neither be created nor be destroyed. Fine. So mass is fixed, mass is constant in the universe. So that is called as mass conservation. And one of the law, which is you can say based on mass conservation principle, we had studied earlier. What is that law, or what is that equation which we had studied earlier, which was based on mass conservation? Can anyone answer this one?
Continuity, sir.
Yes, continuity equation. We have derived continuity equation in 1 dimension and 3 dimensions. So continuity equation is based on the principle of the mass conservation that we have seen. We have, you can say, in the derivation, if you remember, in the derivation, we fixed the mass entered and mass left. We equated both of those masses. Fine. So that is called as mass conservation principle. Fine. So using mass conservation principle, we derived the equation. We derived the equation that is called as continuity equation. And the continuity equation, what is the use of continuity equation? That means if I can write the continuity equation for a fluid, that means I can assure that the fluid is flowing. Okay, if you can satisfy continuity equation, if you satisfy the continuity, if you can satisfy the continuity equation, that means you can validate, or you can assure that the fluid is flowing, because whenever the fluid is flowing and it is it should satisfy the continuity equation. That is the use, or that is the advantage of continuity equation we have seen. And based on continuity equation, you can classify different types of fluid flow: steady flow, incompressible flow, homogeneous flow, uniform flow, not homogeneous, uniform flow, non-uniform flow. So these type of flows also we have classified using the continuity equation. Right? So continuity equation, see, by the logic that should belong there, where we had studied continuity equation. But according to the syllabus, if you see in our syllabus, continuity equation is a part of unit 4. But since we had already discussed continuity equation, so I'm not discussing continuity equation in unit 4. Fine. You can for the, you can say, detail, you can read, you can go through those lectures of where I had discussed continuity equation, that I have uploaded on the YouTube also. So you can revise the topic of continuity equation. Next term is inviscid flow. So inviscid flow, what do you mean by the term inviscid? Okay, so inviscid, basically the meaning of inviscid is non-viscous. The meaning is non-viscous. Inviscid means non-viscous. Non-viscous means no viscosity. There should be no viscosity. Right? So when the fluid is not having viscosity, which type of fluid don't have viscosity? We discussed about different types of fluids also, no? If you remember, ideal fluid, then we discussed about Newtonian fluid, non-Newtonian fluid, plastic fluid. Fine. So based upon that, we can say discussion, what type of fluids are non-viscous? Can anyone answer this question? What type of fluids are non-viscous? Ideal fluids, yes. Okay, ideal fluids are non-viscous fluids. Fine. So that we had discussed also, that in ideal fluid there will be no losses, there will be no shear stress, there will be no you can say interlayer resistance between the layers of the fluid flow. So these are called as, those fluids, ideal fluids, are also called as non-viscous fluids. Fine. So in this particular unit, we are going to talk about the concepts in which we are going to consider that the fluid flow is non-viscous. That means there is no viscous forces between the fluid elements. Fine. So that is what we are going to discuss in this unit. Now you can have a doubt like that it is not possible to have a non-viscous fluid. Then why we are studying this inviscid concept here? Because see, if I take an assumption, if the viscosity is 0, if I'm assuming a concept, if I'm taking an assumption that the viscosity is 0, it is simplifying a lot of you can say mathematical complications. So just to simplify the lot of mathematical complications, initially the fluid, in fluid mechanics, the fluid is studied by assuming that the viscosity is 0, and such type of flows are called as inviscid flow. Fine. So later on, the fluid mechanics have you can say developed from inviscid flow analysis to viscous flow analysis. So initially we are going to discuss about inviscid flow analysis, and then we'll try to, in unit 5, we'll try to move to the viscous flows also. Okay, so unit 4, we are going to talk about inviscid flows. Okay, now inviscid flow, I'm talking that the viscosity should be 0, but before discuss inviscid flow, if I talk about the practical flows, okay, in case of a fluid flow, if I'm talking about a real life flow, so in a real life flow, if I try to write the equation of motion for a real life flow, so in that real life flow, there are a number of forces which may act on the real life flow. Some of the forces we discussed in the previous slide also, where I discussed about the type of forces. So what forces are there? What are the forces which are there in a fluid flow, that you need to understand. So one by one, if I need to discuss that, one of the flow is gravity flow, pressure force, okay, viscous force, turbulence force, okay, and compressibility force. So whenever a real fluid flow is taking place, these forces must be a part of that fluid flow. Fine, these forces must be there in the fluid flow. So I can say the total force during a fluid flow can be the sum of all of these forces. Fine. If I assume force along the x direction, okay, one dimensional flow, force along the x direction in a fluid flow, so that will be the summation of gravity force, pressure force, viscous force, turbulence force, and compression force in the x direction. Fine. So for a real life flow or for a real flow, you can say real fluid flow, these forces must be there in the fluid flow. Okay. But if I consider all of these forces, my mathematical calculations, my mathematical, you can say solutions gets very complicated. Right? So just to simplify those complications, there are certain assumptions we can take. Like the first assumption, if I take the first assumption that there is no compressibility force. No compressibility force means I am assuming that the flow is incompressible. Flow incompressible means density is constant. So if I assume density is constant, that means there is no compressibility in the fluid flow. So that means Fc can be neglected. Last force, this Fc can be neglected. Now, if you are neglecting Fc, that means the forces which are left is gravity, pressure, viscous, and turbulent flows. Fine. So if you are in this expression, in this equation, if you are neglecting the compressibility forces, so the resulting equation is called as Reynolds equation of motion. Okay. Now this is also important in terms of objective question. If somebody asks you what force is neglected in the Reynolds equation of motion, so you can say compressibility force is ignored or neglected in the in this Reynolds equation of motion. Fine. So this resulting equation is called as Reynolds equation of motion. Fine. Now further in Reynolds equation of motion, if you neglect the turbulent flow, okay, if you neglect the turbulent flow force due to turbulence, fine, if you neglect that force due to turbulence, so resulting equation will be called as Navier-Stokes equation. Fine. So in the Reynolds equation, not Reynolds number, in the Reynolds equation, if I neglect this force due to turbulence, so I will be having only gravity, pressure, and viscous force. Fine. So summation of gravity, pressure, and viscous force will be called as Navier-Stokes equation. So equation developed due to these three forces will be called as Navier-Stokes equation. Okay. And similarly, further, if I further simplify, if I further take one more assumption, like if you neglect the viscous forces, if you neglect the viscosity, fine. If you neglect the viscous force also, so then you will be left with only gravity and the pressure force. So summation of the gravity and pressure force, or the equation derived from gravity and pressure force, that equation is called as Euler equation of motion. Fine. So that you should know what is a Reynolds equation of motion, what is a Navier-Stokes equation, and what is a Euler equation. Fine. So this is the equation of a, you can say, practical or a real fluid flow. In this real fluid flow, if I assume compressibility forces to be zero, equation will be Reynolds equation of motion. If I assume force due to turbulence to be zero, it will form Navier-Stokes equation. And if I assume viscous force is also zero, so that resulting equation will be a Euler equation of motion. Fine, Euler or Euler equation of motion. So these are the different types of equations of motion for a fluid flow. Fine. So these equations are valid for the different assumptions we are taking. Fine, that you should understand or that you should remember also. Any problem with this particular slide?
No, sir.
Okay. So that is what the theoretical concept we are talking about. See, in this concept, the main thing which you are we should learn is, like, the topic which I'm going next is a Euler equation of motion. So I'm going to derive the Euler equation of motion, and for deriving the Euler equation of motion, what forces should I take? Only the gravity and the pressure force. Fine. If I do the study, if I focus my study only on gravity force and pressure force in a fluid flow, fine, it will result into Euler equation of motion. So I'm going to derive the Euler equation of motion. Okay. So let's see Euler equation of motion. What does it say and how I can derive it? Okay. So next is this Euler equation of motion I'm going to derive. And for deriving Euler equation of motion, in the previous slide we have seen we need to consider only pressure force and the gravity force. So that we need to understand. Now, for deriving Euler equation of motion, first assumption we have taken that we are not involving viscous forces. We are not involving viscous force, turbulent force, and compressibility force. We are only taking gravity force and pressure force. That is the first assumption. Fine. Now, for the deriving this Euler equation, what we are considering a streamline. We are considering a streamline. See, you can see this line. You can see this line here. So we are considering this streamline in the direction S, in S direction. There's some random direction, let's say, in S direction. Fine. So we are considering this streamline. Now on the streamline, we will assume, or we will take a fluid element. We will take a fluid element. This fluid element has been taken. Now the surface area of this fluid element is ds, and the cross section area of this element is dA. Surface area is ds. I have assumed a cylindrical element. So for the cylindrical element, the surface area is ds and cross section area is dA. Fine. So for this fluid element, we will try to balance two forces. What are those two forces? According to Euler equation, those forces will be a pressure force and a gravity force. Gravity force means weight. So we are going to balance weight and the pressure forces for this fluid element to derive Euler equation. Fine. So that you need to understand. I want to balance these gravity force and the pressure force. So to balance this gravity and pressure force, what I need, I am assuming a fluid element. So a cylindrical fluid element has been assumed in the fluid flow. Now this fluid element, cylindrical fluid element, has the surface area of ds and cross section area of dA. Fine. So for this particular fluid element, we are going to balance two forces, gravity force and the pressure force. Okay. Now, for what we will see here in this case, if you read a few lines here, that for the cylindrical element where the cross section area is dA and surface area was not ds. Okay, the length is ds. Okay, I'm sorry. The cross section area is dA and the length of the fluid element, the height of the cylinder is ds. Okay, so what we are going to assume, we are going to balance forces on the cylindrical element. Now what forces I'm going to balance? The gravity force, which is also called as weight, and the pressure force. So we are going to balance the weight and the pressure force for this particular fluid element. Okay, so let's see how we can balance them. Before that, you can assume, you can see certain nomenclature which has been used. So it is assuming a pressure force PdA. Okay, a pressure force is applied PdA. Okay, this is called a pressure into area, that is pressure force PdA in this direction. Fine. And since I'm assuming I'm deriving this situation in a static condition, in an equilibrium condition. So if the pressure force is applied in this direction, so similar for equilibrium, for stable condition, a opposite force must be applied in this direction also. Fine. So a pressure force in this direction plus opposite force to balance the pressure force will be in this direction. Fine. Now this pressure force, we had studied hydrostatics also. During hydrostatics also, we have taken one type of, you can say, method, that while moving this ds distance, since it's a fluid element, so while moving through this ds elements, this pressure force has been changed by a, you can say, differential amount. So that differential amount will be dp del p by del s into ds. Fine. So this is the change in the pressure across the length of the fluid element. So pressure at this point plus the change of pressure in the fluid element. So change of pressure in the fluid element is this one. I have told you that you can also derive this thing from Taylor equations. Okay, Taylor series expansion. Fine. So not going into the detail of Taylor series expansion, you can just assume that if the pressure at this point is PdA, pressure force, and there will be, you can say, a differential pressure change in the fluid element. So that differential pressure change will be del P by del S into ds. Fine. So this is the pressure on this face of a fluid element. Fine. So pressure force on this face is PdA, and pressure force on this face is P plus del P by del S ds into dA. Fine. So this is how you have balanced the pressure forces. But there is a second force also, that is a weight. And the weight of a fluid should act through center of gravity. Now if I assume, let's say, if this is the center of gravity of the fluid element, so weight must act vertically downward. Okay, so weight of the fluid element must act vertically downward. So vertically downward, this is the weight of the fluid. Can anyone suggest me that how it is the weight of the fluid? How can you say this is the weight of the fluid? Can anyone explain how it is weight of the fluid? Using the previous concepts, can you tell that rho into g into dA into ds is the weight? Can anyone explain this thing? Yes. No answers?
Sir, area into distance is volume, and volume to density is mass. Mass into G is.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. See, dA, cross section area into length. So it will make volume. Cross section area into length is the volume, And if you multiply volume with density, it will become mass. And if you multiply mass with G, it will become weight. Fine. So rho into dA ds into G is the weight of the particular fluid element. Okay. So this is how you can say it is the weight of the element. Now, since the weight is acting downwards, vertically downward, let's say, so if I want to make the components, okay, so you can say the direction of the fluid flow is ds. Let's say this is the direction of the fluid flow ds, and weight is acting vertically downward. Right? So there is an angle formed between the weight and the direction of the fluid flow. That angle is taken as theta. So theta is the angle between the weight and the resulting fluid flow. Right? So that is called as theta. Now, if these particular nomenclature or particular force balancing is clear to you, we can go to writing the equations. Right? So if I'm going to write the equations, what I can say is the pressure along this streamline, pressure along this streamline or the pressure in this direction S. Fine. So the pressure force, if I balance the pressure forces along the streamline or along the direction of the motion, that will be PdA. PdA is acting in this direction, and this change in pressure is acting in the opposite to PdA. So minus this pressure on the other face of the fluid element. Okay. Now we are also subtracting, this is the weight. Okay. Rho G dA ds, this is the weight, but which weight? Cos theta component. So cos theta of this weight, see, the weight is acting downward here. So cos theta component of the weight will be along the ds direction. Okay. If you take the cos theta to this direction, it will be along the directions of motion. Fine. So weight along the direction of the motion will be, see, this is the weight, and weight along the direction of motion will be into cos theta. Fine. So these are the forces along the, you can say, direction of motion or in the S direction. Fine. That you can balance. Now, why it is a minus sign here? Why there is a negative sign here? Because you can say the downward or this direction I'm taking negative, because this pressure force in this direction is taken negative. So, and if you take the component, since the weight is taking vertically downward is like this, so component along this theta direction or component along the S direction will be this here. So both are the same vectors. Fine. So this weight component will be also be negative. Only the forces in this direction is taken to be positive. Fine. So forces in the, you can say, upper direction is taken positive, forces in the downward direction is taken negative. So that is how you can balance this, these you can say forces, the pressure force and the weight. Fine. Now this is the, you can say, if this is how you are balancing the force. So this force should be equal to inner, see, I'm assuming that this fluid is flowing. Equation of, this is Euler's equation of motion. That means the fluid must be in motion. Now, if the fluid is moving, it must be having some mass into acceleration. Okay, when this fluid is moving, it must have some inertia force. Fine. So if you want to equate this pressure force and weight of the fluid element by the inertia force, so inertia force will be mass into acceleration. Okay, and you know density into volume. dA and ds is volume, so it is mass into acceleration of the fluid flow. Fine. So this change in pressure and weight forces should be equal to, like if you go to the previous slide also, in previous slide, what is this Fx? Fx is mass into acceleration. So all the forces will be equal to inertia force, mass into acceleration. Right? So we are just taking Fg plus Fp should be equal to mass into acceleration. So that is what we had done here also. Here what we did, here we have equate, this is Fp plus Fg will be equal to mass into acceleration. Okay, and mass is, you know, rho into volume into acceleration is as. Fine. And now see this as acceleration. If you remember the concepts of unit 2 fluid kinematics, acceleration can be written as dv by dt, total derivative of velocity with respect to time. Okay, that is acceleration. But you know, velocity could be in many directions. Fine. It could be in u direction, v direction, x direction. Similarly, when we are in this case, we are taking direction to be s. So we are going to take the chain differentiation. We are going to apply the chain differentiation rule for finding the dv by dt. So if you apply the chain differentiation rule for finding dv by dt, okay, no need to go very much in detail. If you remember these chain differential rule from your mathematics, so you can do it. Okay. So basically, if you apply chain differential rule, it can be written like this. This dv by dt can be written like this. So again, this is going to have some convective coefficient, convective value of you can say acceleration, and some local velocity, local acceleration and convective acceleration we had discussed in the previous unit in fluid kinematics. So there is a part where we can say it's a convective acceleration and total local acceleration. So this is a local acceleration, this is a convective acceleration, I can say, right? But since we are assuming, we are also assuming that the flow is steady. We are taking an assumption that the flow is steady. So in a steady condition, I have told you that the velocity at different time interval will be same. So there will be no change in the velocity with respect to time for a steady flow. So you can assume this part to be zero. So that means local acceleration will be 0. Only convective acceleration will be there. Fine. So a total acceleration will be the convective acceleration. Now what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to, as you can say, substitute this acceleration value in the equation. Right. So if you substitute this acceleration value in the equation, you will get PdA. Okay, PdA and this value. So you can say this quantity and this quantity will cancel each other, because dA will multiply with here, so they will cancel each other. Fine. So you will be left with only minus del P by del ds into ds dA. Fine. So that is what written over here also, minus del P by ds into ds dA minus rho g dA ds cos theta. Okay, equal to rho dA ds into acceleration. So acceleration is here. There should be a v also. This is a misprint. Okay, why? Because this as is v dv by del v by del s. Okay, so rho dA ds into v del v by del s. So this is mass into acceleration. So I can say this is pressure force, this is weight, that should be equal to mass into acceleration. Okay, is there any problem till this point in this derivation?
No, sir.
Everyone is comfortable? All right.
Yes, sir.
Now what we can see, what you can see in this expression, there is a dA ds here, there is a dA ds here, and there is a dA ds here also. So we can cancel each dA ds. Okay, you can cancel each dA ds. Okay, now when you are cancelling each dA ds, and suppose there is a rho over here. Okay, so if I divide the whole equation by rho, so what I will get? See, dA ds is there everywhere. Fine. So again, I'll tell you. So I need to cancel dA ds here on the LHS RHS side, and if I divide the whole equation by rho, what I will get? I will get like dp by rho ds. Okay, this rho and that rho will be cancelled, so g cos theta. Okay, and here it should be v dv by ds. Okay, equal to v dv by ds. Now all the terms are taken to one side of the equation. Right? So this is taken to this side. This is taken to this side. So all these negative signs will become positive. So I can say del p by rho del s plus g cos theta plus del v by del s equal to 0. Okay, this is this equation. Fine. Now the thing is, what we need to understand is what is the value of cos theta. What is the value of this cos theta? That you need to understand. So if you go back to the figure, from this triangle, what you can say, what is the value of cos theta? From the triangle, can you say what will be the value of cos theta?
The opposite by base.
Base by perpendicular, na? If this is a triangle,
Yes, sir.
this is theta, so cos theta will be base. Base is dz. I can say cos theta.
dz by ds.
Yes, cos theta will be dz by ds. Base by hypotenuse. Dz
Yes,
by
sir.
ds. Okay, so this cos theta I will substitute in the equation we have derived so far. Fine, the equation we have derived here, it will be cos theta. So cos theta I can write dz by ds. Okay, so if you substitute this cos theta in the above expression, so what I can write is, I can write del p by del s, 1 by rho. Okay, 1 by rho del p by del s, same g. Now cos theta is dz by ds. Okay, and v dv by ds equal to 0. Fine. So this is the equation which we have arrived, or this equation can be written as this way also. Okay, this equation can be written as, because all the ds are same here, so you can take it here. Fine. So if you can also neglect the ds. So this equation which is we have right now here, this equation is called as Euler's equation of motion. Okay, Euler's or Euler's equation of motion. This is what we are supposed to derive in this particular lecture, Euler's equation of motion. Okay. Now some things to, you can say, remember about Euler's equation of motion, which you can be asked in the exams also, that what are the assumptions you have taken for Euler's equation of motion. Okay, so assumption are like, in the very first case we have taken an assumption, like in this case it is valid for inviscid flow. Euler's equation or the Euler's equation is valid for inviscid flow. We are not taking viscosity in our picture. Right? So this is an objective question that can be asked to you. Euler's equation is valid only for the inviscid flow, non-viscous flow. Okay, so it's an ideal equation, you can say. Fine. Second is, we are only taking gravitational and the pressure forces for Euler's flow. Okay, that is the second you can say assumption. Third is it is valid for the steady flow only. Fine, Euler's equation is valid for steady flow. Okay, and one more thing which I have discussed with you in the fluid kinematics, that there are two types of study: Lagrangian study and Eulerian study. Okay, remember that thing, Lagrangian and Eulerian.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was Lagrangian and what was Eulerian?
Lagrangian होता है।
किसी को याद है?
Yes, sir.
हाँ बताइए. Okay, चलिए कोई बात नहीं. See, basically, I have told you that in Lagrangian and Eulerian approach, Lagrangian में what we are considering, we are studying the movement of individual fluid particle, how a individual fluid particle is moving. That type of study is called as